Hey friends, you don't know it yet, but I'm currently time traveling. So I started this vlog, did a whole intro, went to edit it, and somehow it was all in slow motion. I did not change any of the settings on my camera before or after, and it was not set to slow motion, so perhaps my camera is haunted, which, sure, why not? But that's why I'm here to open this up, even though I've already finished it. Well, first of all, hi. I'm Mrs. Pizza. In case you're wondering, Winnie's behind the camera and she's currently trying her best not to bark at this person that's walking by my house. How dare they? And Cheese, you'll never guess it. Hi, Cheese. We are going to be reading some damn books because that's what I feel like doing. I don't know what's happening because this just started, like literally just this second. It sounds like someone has started a monster truck and a lawnmower in my front yard at the same exact time. There's no telling. We are going to be reading some horror books today. And if you can hear that lawnmower monster truck situation, I apologize, but I can hear it too. I'm not happy about it. You don't have to be either. In this vlog, we are going to be reading 1, 2, 3 horror books and 1 thriller. We are going to be finding 2 new favorites and we're going to be DNFing something. Put your guesses in now. What do you think I'm gonna love and what do you think I'm gonna hate? I don't really hate anything. One of these books just wasn't for me, and that's fine. But I've been living a horror moment right now. I'm really enjoying my horror books. So welcome. Welcome me, welcome. And the first book that we're going to be picking up and starting is When the Wolf Comes Home. This is a book that I had actually purchased, I think right when it came out. I had never read anything from this author before, but you know how sometimes you just feel like you're going to like an author and there's no rhyme or reason. You just kind of know. I decided to pick this book up first because I saw so many people that I truly trust their opinions talking about how much they liked it. So I decided to pick it up. But full disclosure, I ordered this when it first came out. It came to my house. I read the opening and had to put it down because there is something that happens in the very beginning to our main character, Jess. And it wasn't so much what happened. I mean, what happened freaked me the hell out, but how she dealt with what happened was also freaking me the hell out. That is part of reading horror. Getting uncomfy, having the anxiety, and feeling like, stop doing this, you're doing everything wrong, but knowing I'm not in this situation, this character's gotta figure it out on their own. Let's start off with When the Wolf Comes Home. We are officially on page 99, and I stopped there for no real reason. It's not the end of a chapter. It's just where I stopped. I'm gonna put up over here because I just got myself a fun little like manicure kit. I've never used this one before, but I like having my nails done, but I don't like going to get my nails done. So this is something that I'm going to try. I gotta try some things. The color we are going to make our nails today is called Ultramarine, and we are going to do our own gel set at home while I tell you about this book. Already I've forgotten something. So this is the story of Jess, and we actually open this story with the perspective of a young child. I believe he's like 5 or 6 years old, and he has found a book. Daddy does not want him to have a book. Daddy finds out that he has a book, and Daddy goes into a blind rage, and our young boy character escapes out into the night while Daddy is just smashing up the house and screaming. We then switch to Jess, and Jess is our main point of view in the story. She's a young woman living in Hollywood, Los Angeles area. She wants to be an actress, but right now she's working at a 24-hour diner. We know that she's kind of in a little bit of a rough point in life, but nothing that she can't find her way out of, right? Like she's not hit rock bottom. She's just kind of struggling. Acting is not going how she thought. She's working at this 24-hour diner. And then while Jess is cleaning the bathroom of the 24-hour diner, something happens. Now, previously, when I started this book, this is where I had to take a beat. There is a content warning at the opening of this book, which I truly appreciate, even though I'm not necessarily someone that needs a lot of content warnings. I did not know how absolutely affected I would be with what happened, the trauma that happens to Jess in the beginning of this book. It wasn't so much what happens to her, it's how she deals with it immediately following it. She goes into shock and she starts making very strange choices. She even talks about, as someone, anytime something really traumatic has happened to her, she kind of goes into like power saving mode. Her brain just kind of shuts off and she just starts powering ahead, not necessarily, almost like a little bit of a blackout. Like shock just pulls her through, even if it's not necessarily making the best decisions. It's in survival mode. it's going to get her out of the situation. So Jess has had something traumatic happen to her at work. When she gets home, she's dealing with the mental space she's currently in. When she finds the young boy from the opening of our book hiding in the bushes outside of her apartment, and then all hell breaks loose. And so we are now following Jess, who now has this young boy and feels a very strong pull to keep him safe. She feels a responsibility to this child that she's just found, and they are having to deal with chaos coming after them. This, I thought I was getting one thing, and it makes sense. When you look at the cover of this book, you think that you're getting one kind of horror, and that's not necessarily what you're getting in the best way possible. At the 100-page mark, things are starting to come to light, and you realize this story probably isn't going in the direction you thought it was. I'm having a great time. Like, I'm really having a great time with this. Jess, I feel like even if she is not necessarily making the best choices, she's making the choice in a panic. I think a lot of people would be like, that's not what I'd do in that situation. There is crazy happening. I haven't even started my nails. So Jess, obviously, is just trying her best. And in doing so, is not always going to make the absolute best choice. So far, that is where we are. I'm actually going to do my nails now. I also just picked up a bunch of books from the library. So we have a new stack of books to choose from when we finish this one. And I'm currently finishing up an audiobook that I'm not going to include in this vlog, but I have some more audiobooks kind of waiting in the wings. So maybe we'll start an audiobook too, you know? This is not what I thought this was gonna look like. How does this work? How do you work, friend? Is that it? Oh. Okay, let's do our nails, shall we? All right, we are here because I finished a book. I really, really liked this. This was definitely not what I thought I was getting in the best way possible. The author's note afterwards really hammered home some things you think that are going on that really pertain to the author's own life. This is a story about daddy issues, or as our main character calls it, daddy shoes. Let me sum this up for you. If you have at any point wanted to pick this up, I think you should. This is gross. This is dark. This is sad. This is crazy. And this is not just a werewolf book, which is what I thought from the cover that we were going to get. This has some random nostalgia. This is also the second book that I have read recently that uses the word Tharn from Watership Down, which I have never read, but the only reason I know it's from Watership Down is because the other book that referenced it explained it. I know what Tharn is on an animalistic level, and I think most people do. This book is worth your time. That's all I can really tell you. It's worth your time, and I can't give you any more because it would be spoilers. You need to go into this as blind as possible. Go into it thinking it's werewolves like I did and be absolutely rocked out of your socks by what you're actually getting. I have not picked up anything from this author before, but in the author's note, he talks about how this is definitely about dads. Mary is the book about that he wrote kind of as an answer to what was going on with his mom. And I think Nestlings is also related to something that happened in his life, and I've been really interested to pick up Mary. So this has just put a fire under my to pick up that book. This was absolutely adrenaline-fueled chaos, I think is what they have on here. Yeah, this is an unabashed, adrenaline-fueled pop horror thriller where darkest fears can become reality. That is exactly what this is. Who said that? Did Nate say that? Whoever decorated this cover said that, because that quote is attributed to no one. I actually went flower plant? I went plant shopping earlier today and did some yard work, and I'm incredibly sore. Yeah, because I'm old and apparently everything hurts. But I started listening to an audiobook while I was working in the yard. Hold on, I think Winnie is on my phone. Is it under here? Hello? No? Under your butt? No? Sorry for the disturbance. What did I do with my phone? How to Survive Camping. I believe this is a series. This one is the first book. It's called The Man with No Shadow. This is supposed to be a funny horror, but so far what I'm getting from this book is it is kind of like the campground that this is all taking place in is a skeletal work to bring together a bunch of little scary stories without it being a collection of scary stories. Although they are slightly interconnected, they do feel like very much individual stories. This is all from the point of view of Kate. She owns the campground. Her family has owned this campground for generations, and spooky, sinister, supernatural stuff is constantly happening in this campground area near this very small town. The small town allows it because the campground brings a lot of money into this very small town with all of the people that travel in to visit the campground. And Kate's family has been, for generations, able to somewhat contain the supernatural nonsense that's going on in the campgrounds. It opens with a list of things to do when you enter the campground, but for the most part, they start off as normal things about campgroundness. You know, I don't really camp, but I don't know, not being a garbage human and making sure that your tent isn't on top of someone else's tent. And then there'll be something like, and don't buy ice from the children that come to your campground if they don't have a wagon. You're like, what does that mean? And then they get crazy and more sinister and off the wall from there. This is fine. I'm having an okay time with it. It's definitely an easy listen, and it almost feels, without being episodic, it feels a little episodic. It feels like a TV show where the location has been established for supernatural shenanigans, but Kate is having to go through different storylines every episode. And then we have one overarching thing that is taking place over the entirety of the book or the entirety of the season. So far, it's fine. I wouldn't, it was listed as a horror comedy, and I don't really find it funny. It's more lighthearted horror, but it's still not funny. At least it hasn't been funny yet. I then need to pick a new physical book to read. I went and picked some books up from the library and I recorded it, but who knows if that even made it into this vlog because technical difficulties. Let's look and see what I got. These are all the books I have out from the library right now. This is a fantasy that has to do with, I think, trees or plants killing people. This has something to do with trees or plants killing people, I think. And this has something to do with a girl in a bog. So we have a lot of eco nonsense happening. Unintended theme, I think. But The Second Death of Locke is a book that I've actually rented from the library before and never got to. This is a fantasy romance dealing with a female knight who I believe has someone that she, you have to pair up in this world, this fantasy world. You have a knight and some sort of magic person that has to hang out with the knight. And I think she's got some kind of secret and she might be in love with the person that she's paired up with. That's what I think happens in that one. On Sunday, she picked Flowers. I have zero idea. On Sunday, She Picked Flowers is a surreal Southern Gothic about violence, retribution, and reconciliation from a dazzling new voice in horror. I think this is about a girl who flees her abusive home and ends up in a strange situation in the woods, I think. I don't know. The Girl in the Bog, mainly picked for the cover because good Lord, that is a good cover. This is ancient heroes from Irish mythology and folklore come to life in the modern world in this dark, atmospheric story. At once a thrilling chase novel and a wry reimagining of Ireland's oldest epic, it is sure to enthrall readers of Neil Gaiman and Cassandra Caw. There's that. Green and Deadly Things for fans of S.A. Chakraborty, Robin Hobb, and Martha Wells, Witch King, a page-turning standalone fantasy of necromancy and magical mayhem from the author of the Rune of Kings series. Also, had a pre-order come through that just showed up. The Gravewood. This is from an author that I've liked their books in the past, but most of the books before this one were interconnected, and that was not something you were told ahead of time. It was kind of like when you were in the book, you found out, oh dear Lord, I'm reading a sequel and I didn't even realize it. And I read a sequel and didn't even realize it and still had a good time. So this is that author's most recent story. I don't think this is interconnected. I think this is completely different. This has something to do with vampires, and I think it's dystopian. The book itself is gorgeous, and who doesn't want to read about vampires? So it's our stack of potentials to pick up next. But honestly, I make no promises because I don't know what I'm going to pick up next. Wherever the mood takes me. I'll let you know. How about that? It is that time again. we were going to the library. I love Locke. I love walking to the library when it's nice outside. I wish I could take the dogs with me, but dogs are not allowed inside the library for obvious reasons. I'm pretty sure Winnie would disrupt everyone's quiet time with her need for affection, and Cheese would lick something. This morning, she distracted me by barking at something out the window, and when I went to go see what it was, she ran over and started drinking coffee out of my coffee cup as fast as possible. You've been accused of crimes. While it is still nice and beautiful outside, we are going to walk to the library, return a few holds that need to go back so someone else can enjoy them, and pick up the insane number of books that have suddenly come through the library for me. But the reason that I'm informing you about this is because I decided to DNF the camping book. I can't even remember the name of it. My brain has already started to delete it. It's not a horrible, it's definitely like a cozy horror mystery. How do I put this? I did not like our main character, Kate. We were in her head all the time, and I felt like she was a hypocrite and honestly was killing innocent people left and right, and not innocent people. She needed some sort of like side character that had like a heart of gold, or like someone to soften the edge of her, and maybe that happens further into the book. I made it 50%. I gave 50%. But the very vignette type nature where we would, with Kate, have a spooky story happen, and then the next chapter would be a completely different spooky story, and then there was the overarching, the spooky narrative, the long-term story that we were going for. It very much felt like a season of a TV show. I just couldn't get interested, and I was getting kind of irritated with our main character. I also didn't feel like any of these stories were actually scary. Like none of them even gave me any sort of anxiety or anticipation for where they were going. There was also the way that the town interacted with Kate when Kate interacted with the town was really driving me crazy. If this has been going on for generations and generations, this town would either have completely pushed this family out if they hated them so much, or they would at this point have a level of respect for the work that this family was doing, and neither was true. But I think that's because Kate and her whole family were a bunch of jerks. So there's that. Basically, I DNF'd it because I just wasn't having a good time, and that's fine. So I did decide to pick up a new audiobook. And since we're going to walk to the library, we're hopefully going to get some plants planted today in the garden. We've got some things to do. We are going to be reading Beautiful Ugly, which is a thriller, which thrillers are really hit or miss for me. So hopefully this is a hit. This is the story of a writer. And in the opening of this story, his wife goes missing, which isn't really a spoiler because that's the whole story. That's everything that's happening. I've gotten just a little bit into this. Our main character, or our main point of view, is the husband, and he is on the phone with his wife. He's just gotten news that he's made it to the top New York Times bestseller authors list. He's very excited. His wife is close to their home. She's driving home when she sees someone laying down in the middle of the road. She, while her husband is on the phone, gets out of the car to investigate what's happening. She never gets back in the car, so he runs to where she was, and she's not there, and neither is the body in the road, and just her car, her purse, everything that she had are left behind, along with like a creepy doll or something like that. And then we jump forward a year. Already, I'm pretty sure that our narrator, our husband, how he is experiencing things and how he is relaying them to us, I don't think is actually what's happening. He seems to have rose-colored his relationship, his life. I don't know if I like him. You know how a lot of these books have like unreliable female narrators and thrillers? I feel like he is an unreliable male narrator. He also has a drinking issue, I'm pretty sure. So there's that. But so far, we're going to see what's happening with this gentleman whose wife has gone missing. And let's go to the library. So we have reached almost the halfway point of Beautiful Ugly. I don't know if I'm having a good time, but I'm definitely still wanting to pick it up, which is, I think, a good sign. I'm sure I've mentioned it. I'm not a huge fan of thrillers, so they either annoy me to the point where I put them down, or I feel like I figured it out way too fast. This one, I think I'm figuring things out, but I'm not feeling like I'm figuring them out before the author wants me to. There are a lot of things that maybe some readers would miss, but pretty quickly the author will let you know if your suspicions about certain things are the path that they want you going down. I will say this is giving a lot of Wicker Man. Let me back up before you start thinking they're too similar. That's not exactly true. I'm getting that because we are on a small insular island. Our main male character sees himself as kind of a good guy and a tragic hero type character, but I don't necessarily think that's really what he is. If you read between the lines of some of the things he says and does, I think he's kind of an asshole. Our setting is this Scottish island with these giant redwood trees that have been there for centuries. It's a very small insular community. We are now also getting more backstory from Abby, our missing wife, that's taking place years prior, and she has been keeping secrets from her husband, but many of them are just about how messed up things were in her childhood and her young adult life. Abby is a very, I think, going to be tragic character. But the Wicker Man also feel of this community being very cut off, being very into its natural resources and protecting them, and having secrets from this male character who shows up and thinks he's a good guy. This so far is at least keeping me interested while I get things done and plant things in the ground and walk the dogs places, so I can't complain. I think my enjoyment of this will really be based on what the twist ends up being. And I have a feeling this is going to be one of those books that gives you the twist you think you're getting and then twists again just a little bit, but we'll see. I have high hopes that this will be something I truly end up enjoying. We need to pick up another physical book, and since I've got my new books from the library, I feel like it should be one of those, right? So I'm going to pick up a few, see which one catches my attention, and I'll let you know which one I decide to read. Well, hopefully the background noises we're getting is like birds chirping and a giant drag race motorcycle monsters road. The dogs have found a chipmunk, or what I assume is a chipmunk house. Winnie, great. I don't have shoes on, dog. This is why you cannot be left outside unattended. Come on, you're too old for this mess. I'm glad you're so well trained and listen so well. I'm not walking in the grass in my socks, Winnie. Take my damn socks off. Hello, have you suddenly gone deaf? Don't attack your sister. Everyone is crazy. Go. I decided to pick up Wolfworm. This is T. Kingfisher's most recent Southern Gothic story. This is taking place, I believe, in like the late 1800s, 1899 in North Carolina. We have our main character, Sonia, who until recently was working at a all-girls school as a art and watercolor tutor. She wasn't too happy there, and so she's taken a new position at a secluded estate, which might be near the mountains of North Carolina, because prior to being a teacher, she worked with her father, who is a naturalist, and she did all of the illustrations for his plant science studies. So she's now been hired to do the same thing for a new doctor, but involving insects. When she gets to this secluded estate, the doctor is very stern, ornery, but also a little bit forgetful. He's very involved with his studies and very laser focused, but seems slightly paranoid about his work as well. And there is hold on, I gotta go get Winnie. She's escaping. Winnie! I was wondering if Winnie has slowed down in her old age. The answer is no. So Sonia is at this big, secluded, and somewhat dilapidated southern mansion to draw pictures of bugs. There is a housekeeper, the housekeeper's husband, and a young girl who all live here, but this is the kind of place that should have a staff of 20, and there's only 3 people taking care of this home. So there's a lot of closed off rooms, dusty corners. The people that work and live in the house seem somewhat nice. Aside from the doctor who owns the home, he's a little questionable, but I wouldn't say he comes across as evil. There is some sort of secret going on in this house. We know from the very beginning that everybody doesn't seem to want to talk about what happened to the illustrator that was working with this doctor before. There's bugs everywhere. There seems to be secrets and bugs. That's what we're getting so far. Already, there has been one instance where our main character has done the thing that if you've ever talked to anyone that's from the mountains of North Carolina, you never follow the lights into the woods, and she is following the lights into the woods. Like, let's make good choices. She just never, if you ever, first of all, not that I need to tell you this, anyone from the South will tell you, if you hear a crying baby in the woods at night, do not go in after it. Winnie, do not go in after it. If you see floating lights in the woods at night, do not go in after it. Do not go into the woods at night. End of story. Anyways, so our main character, she is what T. Kingfisher loves to put into the main character role. She loves a little bit of an older character. Our character is in her 30s. She is outside of the typical roles of women of her time, and she's not like the most beautiful girl that's ever existed. That's not important to who she is. She's smart, she's educated, but she's making some dumb choices when it comes to the woods of North Carolina. I'm liking it so far. It's not a very long book, so I'm hoping to get through it pretty fast. And we're gonna go back inside and do some reading, because not only are there a million bees out here, but apparently Winnie feels like digging holes and doing murders. Now she's trying to eat bees. I'll let you know as soon as I have an update. I broke the little wig for my microphone. I feel like it's far enough away from my mouth that maybe you won't hear all the gross. It would help if I could speak. I don't even need to worry about the microphone. I can't speak right now. All right, we are here because we finished a book. I finished Beautiful Ugly, and I am really pleased to say that I ended up giving this 4 stars. Like, I really enjoyed this, and as previously said, I'm not much of a thriller girly, so I know that this author is touted as like the queen of twists, and I felt like there was a lot of good twists. In the end, there is a revelation that you kind of feel coming. The author leads you down that path, and you're picking up all the pieces saying, yep, I see where this is going. Some of them I feel like you feel very proud that you've picked them up. I feel like the author lays it out for you, and then the twist commences and you go, oh, that was pretty good. All right. And then another twist commences and you go, holy shit, okay. And at the very end, I don't remember if it was an epilogue or it was just the ending chapter, but then there is a final twisty twist. And I said, of course. Like, of course. This is exactly what our main character, sir, you underestimated them again. What did you expect? What did you expect? But it almost feels like twist, roll credits. Like, it literally happens at the very end and you're like, yes, that needed to happen, and it's a good twisty twist. I enjoyed this. It was giving Wicker Man, but not nearly as culty and with a lot less bees. I really enjoyed it though. I think I would definitely pick up another thriller from this author. I was pleasantly surprised. I also thought that the audiobook was a great listening experience. There wasn't like an excessive amount of sound effects or anything like that, but because this is taking place on an island, there's several times where you hear the ocean. When a phone rings, you hear ringing, like that sort of stuff. Stuff that doesn't take you out of the reading experience, but adds to it. I liked this. Like, I really, really enjoyed this. And that's just surprising. Not really, because I haven't read anything from this author, but on the fact that thrillers don't always work for me. We've got one last book to close out this vlog. I will say Wolfworm has been a truly enjoyable reading experience. I've like a T. Kingfisher book, but I would not be surprised if this ends up being my favorite horror from that author. It's me, again, bookending my own video. We finished a book, and it was so good. This is definitely my new favorite T. Kingfisher book. I loved this. It's horror, big thumbs up. Southern Gothic, absolutely. Make it historical, yes. And I will say, this creeped me out, made me, outside of reading this, be a little bit a little bit creeped out, which is not something that horror books actually usually do to me. I think I can very much read something scary, be like, oh yes, and then their heads were lopped off? Interesting. What happens next? Whereas in this book, we are dealing with bugs, and I actually was sitting outside trying to read some of this. Bug touched me. I lost my mind. Nope, needed to go inside. The bugs in this are so gross. I will say, having read the author's note at the back, all of the bugs in this story are real bugs. Now, in the time period this is taking place, what is it, like 1899 or something like that, these bugs existed in North Carolina. The author talks about in the author's note how through etymology and studies and science and smart people coming up with solutions, they were basically releasing sterile males of this bug into nature, which was helping to dwindle the population. And the population of screwworms had been pushed all the way down to, I believe, Brazil. So completely out of North America, through Central America into South America. And due to COVID, when things got shut down and these people couldn't fly out to where things were to release these sterile male bugs, but also because people were not traveling and moving like they usually would, they didn't know where the outbreaks of these bugs necessarily were. Things got away from them. So this author was like, this is something that is working its way back up to North America. And I'm not joking. The next day, I saw an article about how screwworms have been sighted 90 miles outside of the US. They are real close to Texas. Oh my God. I'm unwell. I'm so unwell. This did its job. It freaked me out. I had a great time. I will say usually in T. Kingfisher books, this author usually have a lot of found family element in their books. And although there were some side characters that you do care about, there wasn't as much of a found family element in this. This character is very much trying to figure out what's going on their own in this creepy setting with the bugs. But this, per usual, has some moments of levity. You will laugh right next to something incredibly gross happening. 5 stars. New favorite T. Kingfisher horror book. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? But that, kids, is where we're going to end this video. I'm pretty excited about how this went. I read some really good books. And if you had fun hanging out with me and the dogs, please subscribe. I hope you're reading good books out there, wherever you are, and I'd love to hear about them. And we'll see you next time.